a few more folks on. Thank you all so much for being here. We wanted to, well, I need to introduce myself. I'm Jennifer Elwell with the Kentucky Ag in the Classroom. We also have on the call Rachel Wilson, who is our education coordinator. She is a ag teacher at Central Hardin High School, and we're so happy to have her because she puts a lot of these lessons to work in her classroom and also creates several of them too. And she has homeschooled children in her lifetime, and that gives her some even better experience for
that just
all
makes
of the
me sound crazy.
now are you going to be doing both?
Oh, I don't know. So Ashley, you said that in Bourbon County you all are doing a virtual startup. I don't know, it's going to be crazy, but we're really hoping that some of the stuff that we have going to share with you all today is going to make your life a little bit easier.
Yes, I realized that back in March, even though all of our resources are available online, and we did have a Google Drive, so teachers can access any of those lessons. They weren't really virtual classroom friendly. Of course, you can share PDFs with your students, but it's not something that they may be able to modify or type anything on. So I kind of felt we were not prepared, but honestly, was anybody prepared for what happened? So that situation has definitely, encouraged us to really focus on providing Google Classroom friendly lessons. And this program could not have come at a better time as far as the timing goes. The goal was to release these new field trips at the Kentucky Farm Bureau regional teacher workshops that are normally held in June. And of course, they were not able to hold those, but this is the alternative to those workshops. And we've had a great crowd so far, and we are going to provide this video on our website or YouTube, our YouTube channel as well, so teachers can come and watch it later if you need a refresher of what we've said today. I am going to go ahead and share my screen to get us started. And I can see I can pull the chat up on my screen. Rachel's also going to monitor the chat. And if you have any comments during the webinar, please go on and type those in. Rachel is responding to those in real time. If you have suggestions on ways that some of the things that we're going to show you could be used, please let us know. I think we really enjoyed seeing those comments in the past webinars for sure, because we've had such a lot of great ideas that maybe we haven't thought of yet. And also, she's going to put our email addresses. You can email either one of us if you have any any questions, comments, can't find something that we're going to show you. We will help you in any way that we can. So those of you who may not be familiar with Kentucky Farms Feed Me, I think a lot of folks on the call have seen this before, but these are a set of virtual field trips, and we are relaunching these because we've provided some new field trips. They've been updated, and they align very well with the new careers and financial literacy standards that were just released this month, and also social studies, and then your science, technology, engineering, art, and math, and then lots of language arts connections. So we're excited that this is a cross-curricular kind of curriculum package. So the original series was released in 2011 by the Kentucky Corn Growers. So I was actually working for the Kentucky Corn Growers at the time. And I was the communications director, and education was part of my job. And we had been able to participate in the regional teacher workshops that Farm Bureau put on for a long time. And we had some extra funds for education, and instead of just kind of coming up with my own ideas, I actually went to the teachers and surveyed them and said, what do you need from the farm community? I have a feeling that you want lessons that tackle more than just corn. So what would be the best way that we can provide you lessons that you will use? And what I kept hearing over and over was that it was harder to take farm field trips. That was something that a lot of schools like to do. I know both of my kids went to a farm field trip in kindergarten, and then there was another ag day in third grade. And administration feels that that's difficult. One, there's a lot of cost associated with it. You have to have transportation. Then there's liability. And then once you get there, you have to worry about the kids who have allergies, especially in a farm situation. So that was what kind of kept coming to the top was, a field trip situation. So that's kind of how this series was born, the idea for it. The original program had 8 videos. We used 3 child actors. One of those was my daughter, Eden, and she was 9 years old at the time. She's 17 now. And it was funny when we did these new videos, she's like, oh, I'd love to do that again. And I told her she was too old. So it was good to have the kids go to those farms and ask questions so the students watching could relate easily. And we released them, and the agriculture community and the teacher community have been great in using these. They've been a super successful resource for a lot of educators. Shortly after we released the field trips, we came out with a passport program where we would provide passports to students to fill out. They would watch a video, do a little activity on the page, and then they'd get a sticker to put it in the top. And we had a lot of teachers utilize that program. But that was kind of expensive, I'll be honest, to have those passports, especially with the stickers. Stickers cost more than the books, actually. But then I made the move to work for the Kentucky Ag in the Classroom, and I asked the corn growers, I said, can you please let me take this program with me and expand it? Because there's still so much I feel that we can do with it. And they said, absolutely, roll with it. Keep it going. So once I came to Ag in the Classroom, we worked to develop some coordinating curriculum that went with those field trips. So the teachers could take it even further, do some, as I hear from Judy, who's on the call a lot, the digging deeper, if you want to dig deeper into these subjects. So that's where we were able to bring in the science standards and social studies and the language arts and the math. So we wanted to give more of those types of activities that aligned to grade level standards. And then after, a couple years, I'd been thinking that some of the information provided on the videos was a little outdated, especially the state fair video we did was kind of an overview of Kentucky agriculture. And I made the mistake of putting a lot of statistical information, and things change, and Kentucky is seeing a lot more income from agriculture these days. just the number of farms has changed, production has changed. Obviously, we've seen a resurgence in hemp here in the state. So we felt that it was time to give them a new, fresh look. And that's where Kentucky Farm Bureau and the Ag Development Fund came in. Ag Development Fund provides half of our funding for all of our programs. And Kentucky Farm Bureau worked with us because they have a wonderful TV production studio. And then we have other sponsors, the Department of Agriculture, and any commodity group. If we are focusing on that subject, the commodity groups also supported these new videos. So corn growers supported the corn video, soybean, the soybean video, and so on. And we could not have done that without their support. So the new format of these videos is one, having the expertise and the creativity of Kentucky Farm Bureau Studios has been great. They have some wonderful guys working on their team. They have won numerous Emmys for the programs that they've done. Super talented and creative. So I was really happy to be working with them. And also they understand agriculture, which was a huge plus, and had a lot of connections across the state. So that was nice. This time around, we used one child actor. Her name is Kylie, and she's from Louisville, a city kid. She's a cheerleader. That's, how she spends most of her time if she's not in school. And it's really cute how she reacts to what's happening on the farm. They're so genuine. She asks a lot of genuine questions. They made sure to kind of let her do that. We had a script, but if she had a question, they let her ask it. And I think that really comes through that this is a real experience that she had. The other thing that's changed is the time of these videos. So the old videos, they varied quite a bit. We had one that was, just under 5 minutes, and one that was almost 12 minutes, depending on our subject. But because we originally thought that these video segments would be part of the Bluegrass and Backroads program, they needed to keep them between 4.5 to 5 minutes long to work them into some other television programming. And we were fine with that because we know that a lot of younger students have a short attention span, and that may be as long as it needs to be. So unfortunately, they don't create the Bluegrass and Backroads show anymore. But their relationship with KET and RFD TV stations, they have seen the videos, they love them, and they are including them in their educational programming. So not only are the students across Kentucky going to be able to see this, but just the public and other kids in general across the state and also across the nation are going to be exposed to our Kentucky farms. So we could not be happier with that situation. And KET is, we're having a conversation about putting all of our resources that we are going to show you today on their website, so teachers have access to the library of resources that go along with these field trips. So that is super, super exciting. I think Jerry sent a message. Rachel, is that something we need to know?
Can't see it all.
I need to pull it up.
I can't see it all. I think it's about, I don't know how to make it larger.
So in a residential facility, so online lessons are a way to work in the residential facility. Awesome.
Oh, okay. Yeah, great. Sorry, I couldn't see all of it.
All right, I'm going to go back. All right, so our new field trips, we have 10 this time. A lot of them we have reshot, but we've been able to add a few new ones. We actually combined the state fair and the pig videos together, because Kylie was joined by Colton, who is a seasoned pig show guy. He's been doing it since he was 2 years old. His family raises show pigs, actually. And he was at the state fair showing his pig and got to, show Kylie how he does that. And then we visit a pig farm, which is the same pig farm that we visited last time. However, I think in the old video, there was a focus on the processing, because we actually visited Purnell's sausage factory. We don't do that in this one. We want to focus on the pig production here. But there is, in all of these livestock videos, they talk about the products that come from each of these animals, as far as food products, and then also additional natural resources. On the grain videos, we were able to split out the corn, soybeans, and wheat and give them their own individual field trip. And even though if a farmer's growing corn, it's most likely that they're also growing soybeans, and many of those also grow wheat. Each one of these has a little different spin as far as the information that is provided. In the corn video, they talk more about how corn grows, what it needs to grow. And then soybean video shows the process, talks about when they plant, and then all of the products that come from soybeans. And also he spends a lot of time on the technology that is used, the combine with the computer in the cab that helps them do their job better. Beef and dairy are similar. On dairy, we went back to Cheney's Dairy Barn, which is super exciting now, because in the past, they were milking cows, but then they had to buy the ice cream mix to make their ice cream. Well, now they're able to process all of that on the farm, and they use their own cow's milk to make their ice cream. So we get to see that entire process on one farm. So that is, really exciting. Oops. And then we go back to a vegetable farm, a poultry farm. The poultry farm we visited this time is in Daviess County. They are the first poultry farm in the nation to have an educational viewing room, so kids can, or visitors or students or whomever visits the farm can actually watch the process of, how the chickens are housed and fed and taken care of. We visit another apple orchard, and then new to this series is horses. We visited the Kentucky Horse Park, because you can't talk about Kentucky agriculture without mentioning horses, because they are our, behind poultry, they're our second highest livestock as far as sales go. So they are also a $1 billion industry for Kentucky. So we wanted to start out by showing one of the videos. We're going to show you the soybean video. It's super cute. And so you can kind of get a feel for how each of these videos go.
Hi, I'm Kylie. Today we're in Western Kentucky to visit Mr. Alexander of Cundiff Farms. One of the crops he grows is soybeans. I'm excited to learn about how they're produced and how we use them. Hi, Mr. Alexander. Could you tell us a little bit about Cundiff Farms?
Sure can. We're a little over 13,000 acre farm. We raise soybeans, corn, wheat, and dark fire tobacco, and have a cattle operation.
How do you plant and harvest your soybeans?
Well, we strictly no-till our soybeans. No-till farming is where we don't do any tillage to the soil. It's good for preventing soil erosion, and it's good for overall soil health. So we'll plant the crop using a planter that plants in the ground that's not been tilled. We will plant our early beans starting sometime around the 1st of April, and then we'll double crop beans behind our wheat. Double cropping is where we grow 2 crops in one season on the same acre. We'll plant the wheat in the fall, grow it through the winter, harvest in June, and then plant soybeans behind it. We'll grow those through the season and start harvesting sometime in the middle of September and harvest through the fall until the end of October. So we're actually pulling 2 crops off that same acre every year.
What are soybeans used for?
2 of the primary uses of soybeans are going to be soybean oil and soybean meal. Soybean meal is going to be used to feed livestock such as chickens, cows, dairy cows, and pigs. The oil is used to make a lot of different products. Some of them are going to be vegetable oils, biodiesel, pretty much anything you use petroleum oil for, you can use soybean oil.
Wow, so soybeans can be used to power engines and nourish livestock, as well as ourselves. They can also be used to make other items, such as candles, cleaning products, and crayons. I didn't know soybeans could be used in so many ways. Mr. Alexander took me around his farm to see how soybeans are produced. My favorite part was getting to ride in the combine. Tell me a little bit about the combine.
Well, the combine is used to harvest the grain. The grain goes in the front of the combine, goes through the cleaning system, and then into the grain tank to the back. From the grain tank, we put it into a grain cart on a tractor, and then it sends it to the grain system through a semi.
It looks a lot like a car in here.
It's a lot like a car. You have the same stuff in here that you have in your car. You've got brakes, you've got steering wheel, turn signals, even a horn. The thing that this has that your car doesn't have is this computer system here that tells you everything that's going on with the machine, with the crop that you're harvesting, and also maps it so we can go back later and look and see what parts of the field make better crop than others. Let's go take it for a spin. You want to steer it?
Sure.
It's only $400,000. Per combine usually harvests about 125 acres a day, depending upon what the moisture is as to how quick we can actually go through that crop. The beans have to be dried down to about 12.5% to store into the bins and for sale.
Why do they need to be dry?
The soybeans need to be dry so that they store better. If they're above 12.5%, you may get mold or damage to the bean once they're in the bins.
Soybeans are one of the most popular crops in Kentucky, and you can see why. They are super versatile. The next time I see a field of soybeans, I'll know they're an important part of food, fuel, and products we use every day. I'm so excited I got to meet Kentucky farmer Mr. Barry Alexander.
So that is one of our videos. They're all fairly similar. We're going to show you the pork video a little later. So you can see that one because I think that one is super, super cute. But again, I kind of wanted to start with how these can be used. And there's so many different ways that you can do this. I got to speak with Teresa Rogers at the Department of Education. She is over career readiness, and she was in charge of getting these new career and financial literacy standards ready. And I saw that they were officially released on July the 16th. And I was so thankful to get to speak with her and to learn that what we had put together aligns with these new career study standards, especially for the primary grade. So if you've got kindergarten through third grade, this aligns so well because we are exposing students to farming, to farmers. There are a few other jobs that show up in this series. They can also, talk about what other careers help the farmers do their jobs. And then as far as financial literacy goes, we're talking about consumerism here. We all need to purchase food. It is a basic need for us. It should be high on the priority list as far as budgeting goes. So the field trips align super well with career studies and financial literacy. And then also social studies is a huge subject area for this. So it's possible to use these field trips and knock out all three of those very easily. Now, what is different this time around compared to our previous field trips and the curriculum we put together is that the focus on Kentucky has moved from fourth grade to now it's across a lot of grade levels. But I was told by the social studies folks at the Department of Education that the highest concentration of learning about the state is now in first grade. And then also there's a pretty good concentration in eighth grade as well. We had an eighth grade social studies teacher on the other day on our webinar, and he was super excited about what he was seeing. He said he could definitely use the series as well as the county profiles we're going to show you, as well as our lesson that talks about Kentucky's natural resources, and that's called My Kentucky Home Provides What I Need. So there are ways that these can knock out a lot of standards. And of course, we still are able to use those lessons we put together for the old field trips that deal with science, math, art, and language arts. So we are going to show you the modified lessons for each of these that will work with a virtual school situation. First, I wanted to show our new passport. So I mentioned that we started the old field trips with a passport program. It was pretty expensive, but thanks to Kentucky Farm Bureau support and the Ag Development Board support this time around, I was able to develop 2 passports that teachers can request for their students, or even if you're an extension agent, you can request these for, for your programming. But we have 2 versions. The first is a coloring book. Now, this obviously, a coloring book is not virtual friendly, but you could request them and get them home to the students for them to complete at home if that is the situation. So this coloring book is 8.5 by 11. It is stapled already in booklet form. They can watch the video. We have put them in order of what we feel is a good order of the field trips based on, timing of the year. So we start with the pig video just because it's at the state fair in August. So they can watch the field trip, color the page. This information is something that could be talked about on a Zoom call, or their parents or home educators could help them with that if they're not of reading age. But they can the simplest way to use this is show them the field trip and then have them complete the page. And this information kind of brings in points from different standards that are found within primary grades for science and social studies and nutrition and careers, that sort of thing. So we got soybeans, dairy, apples, and there's some life cycle information there. Chickens and eggs, vegetables. Yes, the coloring book is actually, we have linked this on our website, and it will be in the Google Drive that you all will have access to. Horses, wheat. And then the last page there is we can have those primary kids draw a crop or animal that are found on the farms that they learned about. And we made sure we gave them the Kentucky Proud connection. This is the logo that they're going to look for to find Kentucky farm products. So if they're going to a grocery store or a farmer's market, this is what they're going to look for. And I did that for the Department of Agriculture because they put a good amount of funding into this program as well. So again, there is a digital copy of this, but it's not something that kids can color. digitally. I mean, I know there are tools that they could do that, but the easiest thing would be to request these and get these home to the kids if they are still schooling at home when we open up. Now, the other passport, originally I thought this would be for intermediate and above, but I did share it with some of my second grade teachers, and they thought that this would work well for second grade as well. So that would be a decision for the teacher of which one they would request. But this one, it is in color. It's a smaller book. It's 5.5 or 5 by 7. And, obviously there's heavier reading in this booklet. We have instructions on where they can find the videos if that's not something the teachers are providing them. But we encourage them to first learn about the agriculture in their community. And we will give you the link where to find this. I'll show you this in just a minute. So learn about their county, and then they will watch a video, and each page is set up fairly similar. So we have kind of a KWLS document or information organizer here. On each of the field trips, we ask them what they already know about that subject, what's something new they learned, what would they still like to know, and we encourage them to postulate where they can find that information. Now, of course, Google is going to be an easy answer, but we would also like to encourage them to ask a local farmer or a local agriculture extension agent or a horticulture agent. And in this virtual situation we're in, isn't it going to be really easy to ask one of those professionals to jump on a Zoom call with your students and be able to answer some of those questions? That might be a really fun activity, at the end of the unit, to be able to have your students be able to ask some of these questions they had. And then each of the lessons have a unique question to encourage some writing, some critical thinking. For the pig video, would you like to show a pig? Why or why not? What's your favorite way to eat corn, and why is that? I have tore up the sweet corn on the cob the last month or so. So that is my favorite way to eat corn for sure. But you can see each of the pages are set up similar. When they watch the field trip, fill it out, they can color the little badge at the top. We did not do stickers this time just because of the expense, but because we didn't do that, I was able to get 20,000 copies of each of these passports that we can provide to teachers. So I feel like we will be able to outfit a lot of students this year with this program. So you can just see how this is set up. And then we have a final writing exercise at the end where they can write a short paragraph explaining why they think farmers are important to them and their community, which that goes along with consumerism and career studies. And then we have a page of food and farm facts there at the end. And this is something that we can change every year if we need to give them a little statistical information. Now, again, this is something you can request, but if you are in a situation that you are not able to get printed documents to your students in an easy manner, especially when school starts and you want to start this right away, we have a digital version of this passport on our Google Drive that you can access. So it is set up in a Google slide. I have put these orange boxes in here, and they can type their answers in. Those are throughout this document that they can, type in the answers. They might have to use the little tools on, for these little click marks, or they could circle them or highlight them. There's all kinds of cool things. I'm sure a lot of you have been using these in the past, but it works similar to PowerPoint. And then the cool thing about this document is that all of the video field trips are embedded within the document. So they are linked from our Google Drive. So it should be really easy for the students to be able to hit play, and then they've got their activity sheet, the very next slide that they can fill in. So that is, this digital document is set up this way for every single page. All right, so somebody asked, where's the digital copy of this? So it's on our Google Drive. We will send everybody the link to our Google Drive as soon as the call is over, so you can access it.
And LaTanya, you made a really good point, because even if we do return to in-face instruction, that's what I was telling the groups yesterday. There's a lot of school districts and teachers who are hesitant about passing out a lot of papers. Back at the end of the school year, our papers that we received back from students had to be in quarantine for about 5 days before we were ever able to grade them. And so even if we were in an in-class instruction, and maybe you viewed the video collectively as a class and you talked about it, when it comes time to actually be completing the work, it might be best for it to be in a digital format. And so that makes for a really, really great opportunity for that. Hey, Leanne. She and I just spent 2 days together in a very long PD, so we've seen each other a lot in Zoom this week.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rachel, for mentioning that. So, we will send you the links to all of this. All of it can be accessed from the Google Drive. And I actually quit sharing too, because I need to make sure it's on text mode going forward, so you all can see that. But this, again, if you're looking for an easy way to utilize these, you could, start the year off right off the bat, having them go through these field trips. If we were in more of a normal situation, how a lot of teachers have done it is they have a Farm Friday once a month, where you could show one of the virtual field trips and have them do the activity or the writing exercise in the passport, and then have them do an additional activity. That is typically how a lot of teachers do it. But if you're teaching agriculture, Rachel, you want to share how you use this?
Sure. So I teach high school agriculture, and I use these lessons, even though it is a child that might be around 10 or 11. When you think about a 14-year-old, particularly your freshman, they can still relate. They enjoy the videos. And so what I will do is, as soon as we finish our FFA unit, which is always the first unit that we complete, we go straight into Kentucky agriculture. And so what I will do is, I actually, of course, it might be different this year, but in the past, I kind of made a booklet for the kids myself, and would pull out different activities that related to each lesson. And I also used this lesson in conjunction with the My Kentucky Home Provides What I Need. And that lesson is a really great one that focuses on Kentucky's natural resources, forestry, water, coal. And if you have been at any of our workshops in the past, you are probably familiar with that lesson. So I would kind of meld the two of them together. And so what I would do is students were responsible for keeping their packet of work, and we would watch a video, and we would do the lesson that related to that, and generally some sort of a hands-on activity that related with that as well. And so they got a really good synopsis of what Kentucky agriculture was about, why certain things were raised in certain portions of the state. And then as a component of the My Kentucky Home Provides What I Need lesson, there's actually an activity where you can break the kids into different groups, and they get a map of Kentucky. It's got all the counties laid out, and they actually color where certain commodities are produced in the state. And it's a really great comparison, because the group that has soybeans is almost going to be identical to the group that has corn. And you can kind of talk about that. And so it's a really great lesson. I usually spend about 2 weeks on Kentucky agriculture as a whole, and the kids really enjoy that. And sometimes I think that we oftentimes forget that high schoolers are still kids. And so they enjoy the activities that allow them to color a little something. They enjoy getting a sticker. They enjoy kind of seeing these videos, and it breaks it up. But then as an assessment for that, you can have them delve into things a little bit deeper and kind of just continuously to be a little bit more enriched with things. So it's a really great lesson, like I said, that I use with my freshmen.
Now, do you want to talk about your posters behind you?
Sure. Another relation that you can have with that, if I'm in my classroom right now, and so if you all have been around Kentucky Ag and Environment in the classroom for a while, you're probably familiar with these posters. They're stationed all over my room. The pollinators over here fell down, so I have to put it back up. But we also have a scavenger hunt that's in digital format. So Jennifer also has these posters that are in digital format. So you could actually upload those into Google Classroom. And then there is a scavenger hunt that you could put with that. And, kids could kind of go through and find some of this information out on their own. Or you could divide them up into individual, if they're assigned an individual commodity. Some of these are commodities and some of them are natural resources like soil, pollinators, forestry. And what you could have your kids do is a flip grid. So if you're not familiar with a flip grid, I like to call them educational TikToks. And so they could do a short little flip grid about whatever that commodity is and kind of teach the other students in the class about that commodity. And then they're not just regurgitating material that they're pulling down. They're actually manipulating it themselves and being the teachers, which is how they're going to learn. So lots of really great options. And, you all are teachers, and so you know how you can adjust and modify to work for your class. Something else about the high school level, as an elective, I oftentimes have a lot of special education students in my classes. And so when Jennifer gets into showing some of the lessons that are intended maybe for elementary students, as a high school teacher that has a lot of special ed, that is a great way for them to still be learning the same material that everyone else in the class is learning, but it might be modified to fit their ability. And so that allows me to differentiate my classroom for whatever the needs might be.
So we got a conversation going on how this could be used by the 4-H agents with schools. But thank you so much, Rachel. I'm going to share my screen again so we can kind of start diving into how to find all of these things. Let's see, share content. So our Google Drive, you all will be provided a link to our Google Drive. And I'm going to be honest, next week, I'm going to put the link of all of these documents on our website under the Kentucky Farms Feed Me website. It will not be a link to the entire Google Drive. We are going to provide that just to the folks that did the PD or are a part of our Ag Literacy Network. But there will be a document there with links to the individual activities. So if for whatever reason you've lost this, then you need to find it quickly because we're, haven't responded to your email right away. You can go to our website to find all of these things. So I'm going to click on this, our Google Drive. The way it's set up is we have several folders. The first is the videos. However, you may not need this because we have embedded the videos in most of our digital documents. But if you need to download them on a flash drive to give to a student because they have terrible Wi-Fi or internet at home, you can do that. Download all of those. We also have old field trips on here as well. If you would like to still use those or have the kids compare, that is fine as well. You've still got them.
And a couple things about the older videos, particularly for the older levels, like the pork video kind of goes into the processing of that animal and the processing of that meat. And so that can kind of help kind of give an overview of how that animal goes basically from farm to table. And so obviously these are a little bit older, so I think Jennifer will agree they're not as clear, like the pictures aren't as clear because technology has advanced throughout the years, and the new videos have a really crisp look to them, but these still contain really great information. The kids will still enjoy them, and there are different kids throughout, and they also, some of them are visiting different farms, and so you kind of get, for example, the apple orchard, you can actually get two different perspectives from two different farmers.
Yeah, and the poultry, that was the one I love. On the old poultry video, you went to two different poultry farms, and one raised them for local customers, and then one raised for commercial customers, and they look very, very different. For the local customers, I mean, the chickens are in hoop houses on grass. They have to move them every single day, so they have fresh grass. And then in a chicken house, obviously that's very confined and enclosed, but it has, air conditioning and fans. So they're taking care of those chickens' needs. But the comparison is that the farmer with the houses can raise those chickens all year long, whereas the farmer raising for local customers are not going to have chickens in the winter, for that reason. All right, so we're going to go back to the Kentucky Farms Field Trips folder. And this is where you have the two PDF versions of the passport. So if you want them to, if you need to print them out, like I said, request them from us. We will send you printed versions. But if for whatever reason you need a student to print these out from home, if they have that capability, that's where they are. Also, in the PDFs, on number 3, this is where all of the old documents are that we use in the past that go with the old field trips. We had a teacher's guide that went with this, the old field trips. These are all of those documents. You are welcome to use any of those. We've actually made a lot of the worksheets into Google Docs that are interactive. But if you would like to see the original lesson plans, this is where you can find those. And if you want to make your own worksheets from some of these, that is fine too. We are not going to be stingy with that. We want you to use them. Real quick, this is where I wanted to show you the county profiles. I talked about when I showed you the passport, you've got that page where they can investigate agriculture in their county. This is where you will find it. Let's click on Daviess County. Can you all see the little chat button on my screen? Okay, I don't think y'all can. That's just for me. I didn't want it to be in the way. So I'm going to click on Daviess County, and real quick, I wanted to show you the difference, tell you the difference between the ones that have an asterisk and the ones that don't. So if it has an asterisk, it does not have a farmer profile yet. We are still collecting those for each of the counties. So the goal is to have at least one farmer profile for every single county. And Ashley, this may be something you could help me with too. I asked Chad Lee, of course, he's in plant and soil sciences, if he could send our little survey to all of the agriculture agents to help them, for them to help me figure out some of the specialty crops grown in the county. And he has not done that. And I know it's not because, well, he may not be able to, I'm not sure, but I may have to have your help on connecting with some agents to help us on this. Okay, so I've clicked on Daviess County and it's going slow. Here we go.
Jennifer, Ashley
Yes.
said to definitely send that to her, and she can send it on to Dr. Wood.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, so this is based on the USDA Census of Agriculture from 2017. And I know that may seem like forever ago, but it always takes them, they conduct the survey in that year, and then it takes them at least another year to compile the data. So this information was not released until April of 2019. February, April of 2019. USDA put some great info sheets on each of the counties together, but we felt for our younger students, that might be a little overwhelming. It might be a little overwhelming for the teachers as well. So we kind of pared down that information for you all. So we have focused on the number of farms, the number of acres in those farms, and then how that land is broken up. And so we've got the percentage of cropland, pasture, woodland, and then what's considered other. So that might be buildings and such. This is a great way to have students compare data because it's really interesting to see, especially these numbers here, how they compare to a county in the eastern part of the state or even the central part of the state. So you're going to have a much higher instance of cropland in the western part of the state, whereas you're going to probably have higher percentage of pasture in the central part where you have a lot more livestock production, at least grazing livestock. And then over here in eastern Kentucky, where most of the coal and timber are located, you're going to have a lot fewer farms and a lot fewer, acres in those farms. And they're probably going to be higher wooded acres. So it will be really interesting for your older grades to use this data for comparison reasons. And, it could be a writing activity to explain, why that is. We've also got the number of farmers, the income from all of the ag products sold. So the Daviess County is ranked 6th in the state out of 120 counties. The highest income is from their grain sales, corn, soybeans, and wheat. They don't grow a whole lot of wheat in Daviess County, but that's what's bringing in most of that money. And then we break it down further into these different categories. And what we really needed the help from our agriculture agents is, some of these, the vegetables and the fruits and the nursery, they kind of lump a lot of these together. So we're just trying to figure out, if there's something that is more popular, because in Daviess County, we know that's where all the watermelons are grown. The largest watermelon farm in Kentucky is in Daviess County. So we could add, I know I can add watermelons over here on this list. And real quick, if it says not reported, that means that there are very few of those farms that grow that product in that county, and they do not want to disclose income information on just 1 or 2 farms, because that would give too much about that farmer. So they do put not reported in some of those instances. But if there's $0, if they don't produce any of that, you will see a 0 amount. But we do list those things over here as well. So if it says not reported, they still may be producing those crops and livestock. And then if you scroll down, if they're available, like I said, the goal is to have one of these for every single county. But we talk about the farm and what they grow, who the owners are, maybe, to show that family connection, the generational connection. We use lots of pictures. So this is Cecil Farms. They grow 400 acres of watermelons. They've just been through their watermelon harvest, and they end up all over North America, which is really cool. But they also grow vegetables for a CSA, or community supported agriculture, to sell to local customers, and they go to the farmers market. So, they're meeting a lot of different customers. And then we also have a write-up on Hayden Farms, which is actually in one of our field trip videos. That's the poultry video. And they grow chickens and beef cattle. So many of our counties already have these, but we are working to add many, many more. So all of those can be found under county profiles. All right, so now the fun stuff. Rachel, do you have anything that you want to say at the moment? Or are you ready for me to go in? Or do we have any questions?
No, I was adding some comments over in the chat just with some ideas, and I think we're ready to rock.
Okay, awesome. All right, Google Lesson Docs. So we have actually, I need to get rid of this intermediate because I ended up moving them to second to fifth grade because I feel even though they might align to the standards, I see a lot of opportunity where different grades may want to use it as a refresher. So we put a lot of these activities together. So for the younger primary grades, they do have their own folder. But here's where you can find that digital passport is in this main folder under Google Lesson Docs. So that's where you can find that. So I'm going to click on pre-K to first grade. And the way this is set up is that we first have a Google Doc that talks about suggestions for using the field trip series. So this, if you are a K through 5 teacher, these are the documents you may want to look for suggestions on how to move through this throughout the year. So we suggest, again, that Farm Friday once a month, or you could, teach it all together at the beginning of the year because of all the harvest that's going on, or you could use this in March because that's when National Agriculture Day is celebrated. Our County Farm Bureau members, that's the month that they used to visit classrooms where they would read a book to the kids, and they might also follow that up with a fun activity that we have provided them. Now, this past year, because the quarantine and going to NTI happened right before Ag Day, this year, a lot of those farmers were reading books on video and sharing them on social media. And this is a good time to mention that Rachel set up a Pinterest board on our Pinterest page with books, YouTube videos of books that are being read. So those can be accessed to go along with these field trips. We have listed throughout these documents books that go along with each of the field trips. So we've listed those. We're going to work to find recordings of a lot of these books and add those to the Pinterest page.
But also, if you all have participated in our Sponsor a Classroom program, and you or some folks in your county happen to have the books, your students would love to have you all reading a story to them as well. That just kind of provides that personal connection with them. So if you would want, especially if you're an animated reader, if you would want to share a video of yourself reading one of the books, that would be great. We could put you on our Pinterest board as well.
Yeah, I know my son was in 5th grade this past year, and even, the 5th grade teacher had read-along videos that they listened in on regularly. All right, so we've got some books. Here's an opener, an opening, kind of an icebreaker activity. This might be really fun to do in a Zoom call to get things started. So I'm going to click on that. Most all of these interactive worksheets are in a Google slide that you can add to your Google Classroom. they are fully interactive, so you can drag the pictures into the appropriate box, or the students can do that. You all could talk about this on a call. And what I love about some of these critical thinking type activities is that sometimes kids can argue why they would see an airplane on a farm. Maybe they use an airplane to spray the crops. You know, maybe they're from a farm and they know they use airplanes on their farm. They may know that a baseball is made out of leather that comes from a cow or a pig or a sheep. And they may already know that connection. Or they may say that, well, I live on a farm and we play baseball on our farm. So, you know, having those conversations is a lot of fun. There's no right or wrong answer, except, you know, I'd even hate to say that there is never been an elephant on a Kentucky farm, because I've driven through Woodford County and seen a camel in a field. So anything is possible. But these worksheets are fully interactive. Everything can be moved around. So this could be an activity to do together as an opener. And then you could also maybe do this at the end to see how much they remembered. So then we've got those books that we talked about. A social studies standard for kindergarten. So I've pulled in the standards in this document for kindergarten. The kids should start learning the difference between a need or a want. So we have a similar activity here where these pictures can be moved into the appropriate boxes. Again, this might be an activity for your kindergartners over a Zoom call to have these conversations. These things can be dragged over into the appropriate box. We can have, you know, conversations can happen. And you may have to whittle it down to, okay, what do we actually need to live? And then what things make our lives more comfortable or easier, but we don't necessarily have to have them to survive. So this activity can be used for a lot of grades, and I have some modifications in a later slide that I'll show you. But everything can be dragged in and can be assigned as an activity if you choose to do that. All right, so then we move into the individual videos, and we list books or activities that can be done with each of the field trips in addition to using the passport. I'm going to go back to our video mode so I can show you this, and it looks good. And I'm going to show you the pig. So I'm going to click on this Google Classroom activity. It may be a little fuzzy on your end. So here we have the video included within this Google slide. And then you'll see over here that we've got the activities that can go along with this. I'm going to zoom this real quick so we can see it a little better. And we're going to watch this from within Google Slide. And also, here is my my warning that because we have livestock in these videos, there are a couple instances where you can see anatomy of different sexed animals and you may get questions. So I am just going to warn you. So in this pig video, there are a few shots of a boar that an adult is showing. In the cattle video, they actually point out the bull on the screen, and the kids will be able to see the differences. So just be prepared for questions or comments, because I know that happens.
The Kentucky State Fair is home to many great ag traditions, including different livestock shows like swine.
Hi, I'm Kylie. Today I'm with Colton Fitzpatrick from Boyle County, Kentucky. Hi, Colton.
Hi, Kylie.
How many years have you been showing?
6 years. I started showing when I was 2 years old.
What kind of pigs do you show?
I showed different breeds. Crossbred, Yorkshires.
There's so many piggies. What do you have to do to get the pig ready?
You have to feed them, water them, brush them, get them to the makeup ring, and then you show the pig and the judge looks at your pig. Now this is a trick that I have to do.
Colton was determined to teach me everything he knew about taking care of a pig.
Spray the stuff on them.
Where?
Maybe right here, around here.
Woo, that's a lot. Look at that.
He loves it. He likes that coconut oil.
How do you get them to walk around where you want them to?
You tap them on the ribs to go, and you tap them on their left cheek to go right, and you tap them on the other side to go left.
I have to do this?
Remember, it's like how I talk to you, like walking a dog, okay?
Why?
What could go wrong just walking a pig?
Go. Right here.
Right there?
Yeah. Doing great.
What?
Wait. Let me see the whip for a second.
Go? Goodbye, go.
Go.
Honey. Which way do I want him to turn? This way. Go.
Doing great.
Go, Hoodie, go. Go, Hoodie. Turn. Turn, Hoodie. Hoodie.
Maybe it's time to hand it back to Colton.
What do the judges look for in the pigs?
They look for a little bit of fat, but you don't want them to have too much fat. They also are looking for muscle in their legs.
What do you like about it?
Well, it's mostly fun. Well, it's been going in the family for generations, and it's really kind of fun going state to state.
Let's head over to Shady Rest Farms in LaRue County, where as a pig farmer, Caleb Ragland calls it hog heaven.
Here on Shady Rest Farm, we like to think that our pigs are in hog heaven. There's about 4,000 sows that live on this farm, which is a whole lot of pigs. But each one is able to have individual care due to the way our farm is designed. We use individual stalls for housing of each of the sows. That gives us the ability for each sow to get the exact amount of feed that she needs to eat each day. We're able to provide the exact vitamins, minerals, protein, and everything. Got everything she needs right there in front of her. The individual care cannot be matched in any other management setting. She has her own individual water. She has her own individual area that's hers. We have climate control in our buildings. It's a hot day today. It's going to get close to 90 degrees. But inside our barns, it's going to be somewhere in the mid to high 70s. Then in the winter, we're heated and insulated, and it'll stay 65 to 70 degrees on even the coldest days. Last winter, we had some days below zero, and yet the pigs here in the barn stayed nice and comfortable. The amount of pigs we can produce in a year is close to 3 times what would have been produced on average 50 years ago. So through technology, better management, we're able to produce more pork per pig.
What's your favorite pork product?
Sausage.
Has he not heard of pork chops, ribs, ham, and oh yeah, bacon?
And pizza sausage, too.
Yeah, pizza sausage is good.
Oh, man, it's best.
Yes.
I want to thank Colton and Caleb for both teaching me about pigs today. I hope you learned as much as I did.
All right, so that is another version of our field trips. I really like that one, and thanks to the pork producers, we were able to redo that one. After they've watched the video, they could complete their passport page. Then we can go back to these activities. So one of our most favorite is create a show pig using shapes. And this is one that Rachel put together, and it has been a huge hit. We know that all of the kindergartners in Hardin County, at least at one school, do this as an assessment because they had to cut out all the shapes. You have to name the shapes and count the sides and the vertices. So I was trying to figure out how can we have a digital version of this. And someone asked if we've used this with older kids as well. Yes, we've had all ages create pigs, and I think Rachel's done this. Have you done this in your class, Rachel?
I have, just kind of as an ending for the pigs, and they really enjoyed it. In fact, I feel like the high schoolers probably got more frustrated than even the elementary kids did, because they were trying, for like perfection, and so that oftentimes led to some frustration. But it is kind of neat. Now, if you wanted to add a math component to this, you could easily have your yes, that's a great idea, Dina, for like the brown bags. 4-H activities and things that have been going on, to add this in there. But if you wanted to add a math component to it, you could have your kids measure like the perimeter of some of those shapes. And once they got them cut out, you could talk about circumference of the circles. You could talk about area, especially trying to find the area of that hexagon. And, and you could divide that up because they're having to figure out triangle and rectangles, and then add all that together to find the area. So you definitely could make it much more in depth while still learning about agriculture, but still connecting to those other connections that you would have, in various subjects. So once again, these lessons, what we're providing for you is simply a suggestion, but you all can kind of take it whichever direction you want to go. And if you have a really great idea, maybe you made some sort of a modification, but it worked great with your kids, or your kids really responded well to it, please share that with us. I will share our emails a couple other times throughout the chat, so if you have an opportunity to write that down. But that would be a great way to just kind of share about other modifications, and we could share that or add it to the Google Drive. Just a variety of things we could do. So feel free to make the modifications that work for your class.
Okay, I'm going to go back to share. Okay, so if you have the opportunity to get students this activity in hand, here is a page they can actually cut out the shapes. There is a black and white version of this in the original PDF documents as well. This is something that we provide to teachers, our sponsored teachers. Thanks to the pork producers, we give a package of these each year upon request. But again, if you're not able to utilize this because of the virtual situation, then we do have the digital version here. So the way this is completed is they would have to move the shapes around the screen, and I've tried to order them in a way that they'll end up looking like the pig that we created originally for this. And then they can go in with the little tools at the top. There's a paint bucket. You can pick a color and make the different parts different colors. Eventually you can get this if that's what they choose to do. So they could make that if they're super creative. This might require a tutorial on how to use Google Slides for them to do this. This may not be something for a kindergartner, but we wanted to have it there just because it is such a fun lesson for so many grades. And I know on my end I have to undo, so they'll be correct when you all access them. Real quick, this might be also a good time to explain that these are in our Google Drive. You will have the ability to view any of them. If you want to edit them for your use, you will have to go to File and make a copy. And that is where you can put them in your Google Drive or your Google Classroom. And then you will be able to make modifications if you wish to do so. I also have added this plugin at the top right in my Chrome browser, this Google Drive button. I can, if I'm on a PDF or another Google document that I like and I want to stick it in my Google Drive, all I have to do is click that button and it adds it.
Hey, Jennifer, if you don't mind, I just want to say something real quick. Jerry went on to the Kentucky Food and Farm files and found the reading comprehension articles. So that really wasn't where we were going with this, but I wanted to hit on that real quick. The Kentucky Food and Farm Files is a website that Jennifer created that kind of is just a nice compilation of everything Kentucky agriculture. So if you need a little bit of background on a particular commodity, understanding vocabulary, kind of wanting to know about some information about how much of that commodity or crop is produced in Kentucky, that's a great place to go to either educate yourselves or have your students go. You know, if you're wanting them to do that flip grid or create a presentation on a particular commodity. But also included in there are some county profiles, but there's also articles. You could have your students research all sorts of things that are related to agriculture, including a lot of career profiles that are related to agriculture. So they're on there. But we also have taken some of those articles and Jennifer has turned those into printable PDFs. And so what you would do is you could print those out and you could have those in a subfolder. You could have those as part of a choice board. You could have those for early finishers on a test or as a great way to introduce a new topic. But in a digital setting, you could easily share one of those and then have your students just answer some questions in a, just a Google Doc. You could do that. But if those are a little bit more in depth, definitely high school, maybe some middle school. But we also have a Pinterest board that has some reading comprehension activities that are geared more towards the elementary level. I do have to say that those are not created by us and they're not necessarily focused on Kentucky agriculture, but I have pulled down some just general information maybe about environmental or agriculture related topics, maybe something about flowers or trees or earthworms. So you could easily pull those in as well. And they're on our Pinterest board. I'll share that link again, but I just want to touch on that real quick, Jennifer. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, now I've just added another thing to my to-do list. We can make all of our articles on Kentucky Food and Farms Google Classroom friendly. So we can have a place where they can answer the questions on the document if we choose to. Another thing that I have reminded myself is some of these lessons do have a reading component, but I do remember that was another one of my goals is to have a grade appropriate article on each of these worksheet sets so they can get in reading as well. So that will be an easy addition to add to these. All right, I'm going to go back to our screen. So if you choose to have them do this activity, you can, but then for science, for those super early grades, just like the needs of a human, the pig also needs some things, and we have actually provided those on this side. but they can make the comparison to what we need with these little pictures. And instead of actually cutting them out and pasting them, they can actually drag them into the box in this interactive activity. And a lot of our worksheets work the same way, where we have done a little snip clip of the pictures so you can drag them into the table or the organizer. Like that. And I'm going to show you a few more of those for our younger grades, and then we'll get into for the older grades as well. So then we can go to our corn. So this is one that we've actually suggested to do once they've watched all the grain videos. I need to put on my thinking cap and come up with some additional activities for our younger grades, which may be counting seeds or kernels or something like that. But this one, they've watched the videos, they've learned things that come from each of these crops. They can drag these circles onto the different products that are made with these grains. Rachel had a good idea where we could actually sort these pictures in each of these categories, depending on what it's made from. So I may work on that. But, you know, this real simple. They just drag the little circles on. Then on our beef cattle, we're also using science here as far as ecosystems and inherited traits and needs. They can watch the video. They can go to this worksheet, drag the circle on the things that a cow eats. And then, or what it drinks to be healthy. And then here, where does the cow live? So this talks about the ecosystem that a cow is adapted to. And then you could have a conversation of why doesn't the cow live on a deserted tropical island or in the middle of the desert? Because of their adaptations. Soybean, this is a good one to mention that we have that living seed necklace kit that the soybean board provides to all of our sponsored teachers. We are also, through these workshops, you can request the seed necklace activity. When we give you the web address later to request your passports, you can also request the seed necklace activity where the kids have all of the materials to watch a soybean seed germinate in a little bag. So that is a great connection with the soybean video. Or they could use praying crayons. If you all didn't know, praying crayons are made out of soybean oil, which is another cool connection. And then also, if we have other resources, okay, Ashley asked if there's a limit. So for the county agents, we may have to do something there. It depends on what kind of supply that we have at the end of the teachers requesting those. But I know a lot of counties have purchased those kits for the at-home activities. But if we have other resources through some other things that we have done that align well to these different videos, we have linked those as well. So anything that's plant related, a great resource is going to Kentucky Ready, Set, Grow. This is what we offered to teachers in the 2019 regional teacher workshops. We put a school garden guide together for Kentucky, as well as provided many lessons that Jefferson County teacher Darlene Porton has used in her lifetime of teaching. She was a nationally recognized teacher for her garden-based classroom. She has provided many of her favorite lessons to this website. There is a printed guide that goes along with this as well that you can request. But if there are connections to these lessons, then we have provided those. And then I guess after I get through all of the Kentucky Farms Feed Me lessons, making those digital, I'll work on making all of these digital friendly as well.
And the Kentucky Ready, Set, Grow curriculum has an abundance of activities that work really great at the high school level. In fact, I'm sitting in my classroom right now, and I am not erasing my board until we come back to school because I'm just going to see how long it is because the date still says Thursday, March 12th. But on that board is the water cycle game that we were playing the day before we left. And that was in my Principles of Agriculture class when we were studying the environment. And so there's lots of activities that are included in that curriculum. That's the one that she has pulled up. That's included in that curriculum that works really well at the high school level as well. So I shared that link in the chat as well. Jennifer, whenever she emails you your follow-up, she'll include all of these links in an email as well so that you all kind of have all of those. But you might be able to click on those or jot them down as we're going through the chat. But anyways, this is a really great one as well, where kids can kind of understand how water actually moves through a water cycle. And it's not always in the perfect circle that we teach them.
Yes. Yeah, I know Jerry, she's been with us before, but we're finding new things to add to this, to each PD that we put on. We remember, oh, we have more things to share. So I'm glad she's on again. So yeah, so there's a lot of connections. Oh, another one for our secondary students, because I know we're focusing a lot on the younger grades right now, is Plant Your Profits. Let's see. Or Plot Your Profits, sorry. Plot Your Profits is a great math activity for your secondary students. It will go along so well with the vegetable video. You can give them a plot, and this could easily be done in a Google slide, very easily. Actually, it'd be a lot quicker, I think. You're giving them an acre plot that is divided into 1/100th sections. They have to decide what crops they want to plant in their acre. They have to choose at least 5 crops, no more than 10. They decide where they're going to put each of those. And then they have to use a data sheet to figure out what percentage of their plot is each of the different crops. What their total area is. And then we're going to give them information about the profit per acre of each of those, or the profit per block. And then they have to figure out what their total profit is. And that becomes a game. See who has the highest profit at the end of the game. But then you could take this even further. And we have some scenario cards. If any of you have ever played Bushels or Bust or Cash Cow, we have some scenario cards that you could pull each week that would adjust their profit because of weather issues or disease issues, supply and demand issues. And this is something you could pull out every week and make changes to, make adjustments, and they can, follow along. And after 2 months, see who still has the highest profit at the end of the game. And then they've got some assessment questions. So I'm glad I pulled that one up because this is a super fun activity for secondary for sure.
And at the end of that, when you go through the 8 weeks, have them graph that out, which is a great kind of analysis thing that kind of brings in, finances and economics, as well as just teaching some basic math skills. And I think that really helps students understand how agriculture is so interconnected with other academic disciplines, and that they can see that, you know, agriculture can be used to teach social studies and science and math and economics. I think students always kind of get an eye opener when they come into my class and they're like, well, we're learning this in biology. And I'm like, well, you know, agriculture is an applied science. We take what you learn in one class and apply it into real life settings in here. And so I think that's a great way for them to kind of see all the interconnections with agriculture.
Yes, thank you so much, Rachel. Real quick, I wanted to show you a couple of the unique lessons in this version for these younger grades that are unique. On our apple orchard trip, and for the younger grades, we've got some sorting and math activities where they have to sort the apples by size and color and move them into the basket, and then they can type in how many there are of each. And then for our first graders, they actually have to make sure each basket has the correct number of apples by adding or subtracting the apples, just by dragging them into the different baskets. And we do have the correct number of apples available, so each of these are even, and it works out. They won't have any extras. So that one's a fun activity. For our another one that is different for the younger grades is the horse activities, and something similar. They can match the number on the horse to the number of apples in the stall, so those can be dragged in there into the correct stall. And then we also have one, or what are the things you need to care for your horse or a horse, and they can drag these items into the barn. I still have yet to, I need to modify this for my older grades. So we're actually going to put some prices on some of these things where they have, the older kids actually have to guess how much these things cost and figure out how much it costs to care for a horse for a month. Because of all the things that those horses need. So that would, you know, go along well with the horse lesson. All right, so I'm going to kind of go, do we have just, I don't want to spend too much time on the kindergarten, first grade if we do not have any kindergarten, first grade teachers. But just know that, like I said, you have a whole folder dedicated to those grades. There are suggestions, ways to use this for both of those grades. Like I said, I think these are probably the two most specific teaching guides. One, just because of the nature of your students, you know, as far as reading ability and math ability. But then also, we have a section in the first grade document that deals with those first grade social studies standards, where they're really learning about Kentucky, you know, what does Kentucky look like, what types of resources are in Kentucky. And I'm actually working on modifying this. I've, you know, spoke to the social studies folks at the Department of Education, and we're working on a version of this that will work well for our first grade students. So you can find links to those here in this first grade document. And then the books might be a little different on this one because of their age. And then, but most of the activities that we have provided are going to be the same within those digital classroom activities. Okay, so going back to our folder for grades 2 through 5, and I'll be honest, a lot of these you can use for your higher grades as well. I think they're going to think they're a lot of fun. One lesson that I want to call your attention to, this is a great assessment. It just like for those younger grades, this would be a good opener or a good thing to use at the end of the unit. is linking farm to table. Where do we get a lot of the processed products that we have? This is a game that we have done for a long time with cards. And you can have everybody link arms, but in a social distance situation, we have to, provide a different method. This could be a fun thing to do on the Zoom call, as we've mentioned before. But you could just drag the little pictures that links up to the processed product, like that. And there is a key available. We can also modify this to do a farm web, a farm to food web. So just like we would have all the teachers up to make the pizza or the cheeseburger, we can make this a spiral web and have that meal in the center. I've got that on my list to have a modification of this. And then also that is a great way to add in those careers, what careers are needed to make all of that happen. So that is on my to-do list.
Jennifer, I unmuted to say all of those things, and you literally took the words out of my mouth. The web she's talking about would be a great addition for secondary and high school students. I do this activity as the beginning of the Kentucky agriculture, just so that they can kind of understand that Kentucky farms are producing food for us to eat. And because there's such a big disconnection from them understanding where their food is, even at the high school level, even as adults, there's not a really good connection with that. And so the spiral she was talking about is great. And then careers, if you look at a pizza and they see all of the different steps that it takes for the pizza to be created, and then you start expanding upon that and talking about careers, and kind of in between each of those steps where you have truck drivers and they realize how many people it takes to actually get a meal onto their table, it kind of would turn into a really great writing activity for older students. And it can really be taken lots of different directions. This is a very, very, very popular activity that we have in card form, and it has been used in large elementary settings, like in a gym. It can be used on like a felt board where people are moving and creating that. It can be in tables. You can have open sorts and you can have closed sorts. It's so versatile. The graphics are great. And I love that Jennifer has made this into a digital activity, because it could literally go with any topic that you're talking about in agriculture. Any topic that you're talking about, it could work with it. So it's a really great one to have in your arsenal as well.
Yeah, I mean, the kids could even sort which are the animals and which are the plants, your youngest kiddos. So many different ways to use these. And because all of these images are within these Google Docs, you have access to them. So feel free. If you said, you know what, I need a picture of a tomato for something else, you can grab that, copy it, and stick it into your document. That is fine. We want to make digital learning, virtual learning for you all as easy as possible. Okay. I do have that document as far as, how you can use these for the older grades. There's a focus on career. What questions do you need to ask to meet those career studies standards along with this program? Some other videos that go along with this that would help teach those standards in social studies. We have a great video called Kentucky Agriculture, Our Food, Our Farms, Our Future, that is a general overview of what agriculture was being done by the Native Americans, what the settlers first did, and then talking about those different land issues that affect where certain crops are grown within the state today. So you can find all of that, but I'm going to just show you some fun activities. So here's the needs or wants that I showed you earlier, but with some modifications. So here we have need to live, improves life, makes life fun. So this really aligns to the financial literacy And it encourages them to order these, and what would they buy first? So what's kind of low on the list over here that makes life fun? And what are some alternatives, some free alternatives of, making life fun? And then here, find the things, what do we need to produce food? So this is actually encouraging them to learn about natural resources that are required to produce the things that we need, like food. And then, Rachel, we could also do this for product pandemonium.
Listen, I have so many notes jotted down, Jennifer, of different things that we could do. Because as we kind of get in here and start looking at things and thinking about how those can be altered for various age levels, I mean, this could be a never ending cycle, honestly. And so, yes, I have lots of notes jotted down.
So this one, you're adding in the resources we need to grow food. And then there's a place where they can answer some questions. We're talking about conservation. Why do these need to be protected? Why is Kentucky a good place for producing food? Well, we have a lot of these resources available to us. Some of these I might, pull out of here. I wanted to get my ideas on here as quickly as possible. Limited or renewable resources, that's another standard. They have to know the difference between a limited resource and a renewable resource. And then the differences in 5th grade, they have to know the differences between natural, capital, and human resources. And I need to get a few more career photos on here for this activity. But they're all the same. You can drag these pictures into the appropriate categories. These are great for Zoom calls and have those conversations with your students. All right, so on the pig video, the difference here is they can actually create a drawing of a shelter for a pig or a living situation for a pig to make sure that we are addressing all of its needs. And they can use those shape tools. It might require a tutorial, but my kids figure this out pretty quickly. They actually figure it out quicker than I do. I go to my kids regularly and ask them how to do things. And then here's a language arts activity where they have to make all the capitalization and punctuation corrections. Now, it's given them some hints because I've typed this in so they can modify it. A few of these are underlined so they know that they're wrong. But hey, we can give them hints. That's okay. Let's see, on Amazing Grain. So this is the example where we have the reading activities included in this. We've got an information organizer. They can watch the videos. They can go and read these documents on each of the different crops and then fill in the organizer. And then what's one more fact that you learned by watching the video. That's pretty simple. On the beef cattle, Rachel was able to take some of our older worksheets, and this is form to function, which is great for our intermediate. What adaptations do cows have to help them find food? So here's a version of that. They have to, what body parts help them get rid of flies, which is a huge problem for cattle. But on this one, it's, matching up the body part with the term. So you're talking about anatomy of different animals, and you can do this, for a lot of animals. Let's see, dairy farm. This is one of my favorites for the career studies. We talked about that web, but within this dairy activity, we have who makes my milk. We have descriptions. These are very simplified descriptions of the different jobs it that are required to put milk on our table, and they can drag the image to the correct spot. In the in-class version, we pass out all the pictures, then we pass out all the descriptions, and they have to go find their matches. But this is something they can do on their own. So the consumer gets to enjoy all the milk. The food scientist is, I can't remember where I put that. This person makes sure that milk is safe to drink. So then they could go and research some of these careers to learn further about what kind of education is needed to do this job, what kind of salary information is needed, what their life is like, what they might do differently as far as education. So this is another thing or focus that has encouraged me to think of additional ways to bring in some career studies. I feel, and Rachel and I talked about this, we could easily put some Zoom call videos together of agricultural professionals talking about all of these different things about their jobs. I've written several articles that can be found on that Kentucky Food and Farm Files website about ag professionals and their jobs, but we could easily do a Zoom call of ag professionals, and we could actually keep like jobs together, just do a call about those in animal health, and talk about what education they had, what were they good at in school, what made them interested in their job. So that would help in the career studies standards as well. So many ideas are coming from this, and I guess the goal is to make your all's jobs as easy as possible. But our mission is to encourage students to consider jobs in agriculture. I think we're doing a much better job of it now than when I was in school. Agriculture was kind of a second thought because I needed, some scholarship money. And as a 4-H kid, I knew I could get scholarship money if I studied agriculture. So that was, kind of the reasoning how I made it here. But once I got there, I didn't have a clue on what type of job I would have within the agriculture industry. And it took a while to figure that out. So I would have loved to have this sort of resource available to me because I didn't have FFA when I went to school. And then the statistic is there are double the number of jobs available in agriculture than there are graduates to take them. So there is a huge opportunity there for sure. On this one, we also have, they can sort the steps to making the ice cream, which, takes some listening and comprehension. And then our 5th grade ecosystem standard is being able to trace the flow of energy in an ecosystem. So we've got the sun, which ends up to the secondary consumer, and they can, put those things in the right places there.
Jennifer, we're at the 9-minute mark.
I know. Gosh, we've had so much to share this time. So I know you all can go in here again after we end the call. I am going to send links to all of this stuff for you all to access, and you can play around with it on your own, add it to your Google Drives. If we make modifications, we will let you know. But I'll be honest, at this point, we're probably still going to be doing a lot of modifications. The more we get in there, the more we play. It's like, oh, we could do this too. So have your notes, have your ideas of how you could use this, but maybe wait till you're getting ready to use it to see what we have at the time to pull it down. And then we also keep everybody up to date about what things that we're adding to all of this. I wanted to go back to our, I think we've talked about these things. Wanted to go back to this slide. So this is where you are going to request your passports, your soybean kits, and your PD certificates if you need those. I will send this link to you in an email as well. It will take you to this page on our website, which somebody visiting will not be able to find this. So you can access the Google Drive right there from this page, fill out this little form for your needs. Leanne, with your high schoolers, if you want to give them that coloring book, you are welcome to request it. So just let me know how many that you would like of each of these things. We will give priority to teachers first. So if we have agriculture agents or 4-H agents requesting these things, we will make sure that we have supplied the teachers first, and then we'll get them out to the 4-H agents next. But I feel that this is a program that we're going to continue, and we will have continual funding on, so we will be able to print new passports every single year.
If at any point throughout the year, if you all use any of our resources, whether they would be in print or digital, if you wouldn't mind sharing those with us, I've shared our email several times, or you could tag us either in a Facebook post or put something on our Twitter page. We would really appreciate that. That allows us to report back to all of our sponsors that we're being successful in reaching out to teachers and spreading agriculture literacy across the state. So we would love to hear your all success stories, and we would love to stay in communication with you all throughout the year, because that allows us to continue to do what it is we love to do.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Rachel, for that reminder. We would love to hear everything you do. Some of our teachers are great at sharing things on social media. We encourage you to use the tag hashtag TeachKYAg. We love seeing those pictures of teachers using our resources. Of course, maybe a little different now without the in-person classroom setting. But we still would love to see how you all are using these. Any last questions or comments that you would like to share? Have you already thought of ways that you're going to use this? Have you thought of new ways and you would like to see us, focus on something else? We'd love to know that.
And feel free to unmute if you want.
Yes, please. We'd love to hear from you.
I just want to say thank you for all the work that you guys do putting all this together. It is amazing what is there as resources.
Thank you. Who is that talking? Because we can't see your name.
Yeah, it's Leanne Darty.
Oh, hey, Leanne. You came back.
I had to change medias.
Well, you are welcome. We thank you for coming back to these workshops time after time. You make us feel like we're doing the right thing.
There's just always something new.
Well, yeah, we try. We try really hard. Well, we'll go back and Deanna's in Meade County. Okay. I know Rachel's been answering all kinds of questions on here, so she'll let me know if there's anything that I missed. Yeah, we love the idea of our 4-H agents utilizing these resources. Yes, absolutely. And if any of you that are on the call are not a sponsored teacher, so we have a classroom program where a local organization, a local farm organization can sponsor resources for their teachers. Of course, obviously the digital resources are free, so no need to, have anybody spend any money there. But as far as our books go, our material resources that could be used when we are back to the in-person school scenarios, those are things that can be used there. So if you're interested and have not been sponsored, let us know, and we can try to connect with a local farm organization in your county to get you sponsored. I've already had a few requests over the last few days on that. All right, so here's your last opportunity to ask any additional questions or comments. We want to thank you so much for participating and joining us today. We've got one more of these this afternoon. And a huge thank you to all of our sponsors as well. We couldn't do it without them.